Don't maintain children who do not have your surname as a man. Don't maintain children, don't contribute financially to children who do not have your surname. There's like a long piece around this, and knowing me, I'm probably going to talk about it on various podcasts, but I'm going to try and summarize it for this video. There are a couple of ways of living in South Africa. The one is cultural. If you're Black, African, your customs, your tribe, etc. Of course, if you're religious, you're Christian, you're Muslim are the two major ones. There's obviously African religious groups in South Africa, like Ibandla Lama Nazareta or Shembe. There's the ZCC, the Zionist Christian Church. Christian, but more African spirituality. And then I guess you've got your Judaism and other belief systems, but yeah. And then there's the legal way of doing things. Western way, British law, we were colonized, whatever you want to call it. Surnames didn't exist until the colonizers arrived in South Africa and decided to formalize the way South Africans live. We had names. The names would be our father's names. The names would be the geography we come from, our family totem, something relevant to your personality, etc. And these would form what would be known as clan names. Izithakazelo, Izdugu. I would be known by my father's name because that is who would give the seed for my existence, or the land that I come from, or the mountain, or the river, or the lion, or the crocodile, or the elephant. That is my family totem. Penwell Kazwelake being my father's name. Upenwell wasemadadeni, where I come from or where I was born. Upenwell Owendlovu, or Gacheni. Ndlovu being an elephant. Maybe we lived in an area that was hugely populated by elephants. Upenwell wasemfuleni. So Mfuleni would be the name because we are close to a river. Wasentabeni, whatever the case may be. And this applies to all the different languages. Your Setswana, your Sesotho, your Xitsonga, your Ndebele, your Swati, your Chivenda, whatever you want. There would be these naming dynamics. Colonizers would come and then they'd be like, nope, we need you guys to have a surname. We come from England and there we have surnames, of which even if you study them historically, they also didn't have surnames. They started naming themselves after like professions, goldsmith, blacksmith, and then after someone's son, like John would have a son, Johnson, etc. And this applies around the world, etc. Surnames are not a real thing, they're human creation. We're here now. Now we have surnames. In these three ways that I've told you, the easiest one is maybe the Christian Western way of living. The understanding is if mom and dad are married, mom takes dad's surname, child takes dad's surname, everybody is happy. That's now the Christian Western way of living. It is what it is. Mom and dad are not married. Mom keeps her surname, and then child keeps mom's surname. And that's what it is, unless if they decide that they maybe want to change it. But generally, that's kind of Christian Western way of living. Then there's the legal way. The legal way, did I mix them up? Anyways, legal and Christian Western is largely similar. The legal way is literally what the law prescribes. It's literally, what is your surname? You put it down on a document. You go to Home Affairs, mom puts her details, dad puts her details. Today we've got unqualified, I think it's called, is it unqualified? Unabridged birth certificate, which needs to have the father's surname. This didn't exist in the past, by the way. Dad's details wouldn't be there, to just be mom. Shout out to gender equality. So now we've got dad's details there. When it comes to the child's surname, you guys choose. Mom doesn't have some superiority. Dad doesn't have some superiority. Even marriage doesn't have a superiority. You guys can pick. The child can take mom's surname, dad's surname. They can have a hyphenated double-barrel surname if you guys so wish. So people decide that, and they normally follow maybe Western Christian, whatever. Or this way. This one is the most complicated. The cultural way of being. I'll use myself as a benchmark or as an example because I was raised KwaZulu. Zulu being the biggest, most populous tribe in South Africa. So by and large, we largely represent the majority way of living from a cultural customs perspective. We being Zulus, I used to be, I'm not anymore. Just to qualify the English. Sex before marriage is not allowed. KwaZulu. We see into as a black African. It's not allowed. Never mind if you go to church, never mind if you're a modern person. Culturally, sex before marriage is not allowed. So all of you guys are fucking sinning. All of you guys, Millennium Samuel, Shisimpepo, and apologize to your ancestors for shitting on their beliefs. Fuckers. So, number one, sex before marriage is not allowed. If it so happens that you have sex before marriage, that the man gets penalized, the boy gets penalized, his family gets penalized. You pay damages in Kaulu for breaking the virginity of a girl that you have not married. It brings shame to the girl's family. It brings shame to the boy's family. The boy's family has to apologize because that is the known rule and law and custom around African cultural areas. If she falls pregnant, you pay damages for that. Now, that can range depending on who you ask. It used to be a goat. The goat would be to cleanse the home. The girl's family would not eat the goat. The goat would be to cleanse and to apologize to their ancestors. Today, some people have added a cow. They've made it financial, so you can pay anything from 3,000 Rand to 5,000 to 10,000. And then for greedy families, they can even go as high as 20,000 for damages for getting a girl pregnant. Culturally, we're not speaking legal. We're not speaking Western, because now women are liberated, women are empowered, women have got agency over their bodies, women can decide to abort from the age of 12, women can go on contraceptives from the age of 12. It is their life. Culturally, you get punished. Now what would happen is this. The child being born outside of wedlock would be born into the girl or the woman's father's home. Women were what we define now from a Western perspective, second-class citizens. What that means is the woman would be under the custodianship of her father until he hands her over to her husband. This would happen in the church as well when you get married. That's why the father walks the bride in to say, I'm now relinquishing responsibility, ownership, custodianship of this child onto you, sir, which is why she's losing my surname and she will now take your surname. It's almost like a form of ownership, slavery. I don't know what the slavery, because women have to cook and clean and bear the kids. So that's up to you to decide. The child would be born into the father's home, the maternal grandfather's home. That home, again, we didn't have surnames, we had names. So a child living there would be the child of, let's say my father, Uzwelake, because he is raised by Uzwelake. He is living on Uzwelake's land. In the same way, his daughter's living there. The boy would live in his home. Let's say the father's name is my name, Ulungelo. The boy lives with Lungelo's child, whatever the case may be. That's how it was. Now, we're here now, it's 2025 and things have changed. The first important thing to understand is that there is no woman's surname, at least in an African context here in South Africa. There is no female surname. Women don't get to name families. Every woman that says, well, this is my surname, is speaking about her father or her grandfather or her great-grandfather. There is a man somewhere who she is named after per surname. So when she says, this child will take my surname, it's not her surname, it's her father's. Women don't get to give surnames, sadly, which is something that needs to change in South Africa if we're going to keep the surname thing, where we're hoping to see surnames like Spongile, surnames like Nomtandazo, surnames like Palesa, surnames like, I don't know, man, whatever female name that you know, those become surnames, which would now mean, oh, snap, you have your mother's surname, your mother's name, your grandmother's name, etc. Currently, we don't have that. In the past, culturally, the child would be raised under the maternal grandfather. The maternal grandfather would take ownership of that child and he would raise that child as his own. The child would learn the maternal grandfather's language, his religious beliefs, would be maintained by that man, educated by that man, clothed by that man, would belong to that man in the same way the child, the daughter, belongs to that man. The only time now, culturally, the father of the child would get to be custodian of the child, own the child, name the child, is if his family would lobola that baby. Lobola, you speak lobola in terms of honor, lobola a woman to marry her. Think of it in the easiest practical sense as adoption. A boy in his family sees a nice girl that he really likes, that he wants to have kids with. The families discuss, how do we adopt her? And in that adoption, they speak about lobola. It's a gratitude, it's a thank you, it's maybe cows, whether Lord Theophilus Shepstone and his 11 cows, or a certain amount of money from 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 for greedy families, 100,000. And you pass that on to the family. There's a ceremony where people are crying. The crying has to do because this girl is being taken away from that family into a new family. And she gets adopted into this family. She changes her name. Your husband's family, your groom's family gives you a new name. You take on the surname of that family. And you take on the language, the beliefs, the whatever it is. And even if your husband passes away culturally, you don't go back home. You now belong to this family. This family can decide to give you to one of the brothers or the male cousins as a wife, whether as a second, third wife, whatever, or just under custodianship, or they will marry you off to someone else because you belong to this new family. That's how it worked culturally for people that know culture and are not going to pretend like they know when they don't. Same thing would happen to the child. So let's say it's a boy. African men love boys. Hey, there's something special about Abafan. So boy meets girl, they have sex, which they shouldn't be doing. They have a baby, which they shouldn't be doing. And then this boy and his family have to come and pay damages to apologize for sleeping with this girl, which is a violation culturally, for getting her pregnant, which is a violation culturally. In that conversation, there's two other conversations that potentially can be held. The one is kupuka ngengalo. That means not only are we going to pay damages, we'd actually like to marry this daughter, lobola her and bring her into our family along with the child. So it becomes a package deal, and then maybe damages get waived. And it's almost like, well, since you guys are doing the right thing, we'll say retrospectively, you had the right intentions. The second one is, we don't want to marry your daughter. We don't want to take your daughter. Maybe these kids were messing around, whatever the case may be. But we do want this child that's coming or that's here, this little boy, this little girl, into our family. So we would like to lobola the child. We don't want the mother. We want the child. And ingani bilocholo. So you would take custodianship of that child and take that child to the paternal family, the father's family, where the child gets the surname, gets a name, the religious beliefs, the cultural beliefs, that everything is there. And the boy's father, or the boy himself, if he is of age or if he has the means, is now fully responsible for the contribution of this child, the food, the clothing, the education, the whatever. And the mother and her family relinquish responsibility of this child. That's how it happened culturally. Today, because black people were disturbed by colonizers, because black people have got piece of shit fucking kings and chiefs and so-called custodians of culture, people have lost the fucking essence of what it is that they're trying to do. So we find ourselves here where boy meets girl, they have sex because they're over 18, they're old, they have agency over their bodies, they're empowered, they are majors, they decide to have a child. The girl decides, oh, I want to have this child, because if she doesn't, she'd be on contraceptives. Same with the boy, he'd be using a condom. The girl would also take morning afters if she's not ready, or she'd have an abortion if she's not ready, but she's like, nah, fuck this penal guy, I want his kid. And she decides on her own. She doesn't consult her family. She doesn't consult his family. She doesn't consult her friends. She decides on her own, I want to have this child, maybe with the consultation of the dad. They decide to have a child because they claim to be cultural. She goes Ayobiga Isisu with her mom and her aunts to the boy's family. We are pregnant. Your son has gotten us pregnant, which would normally be the crime. Your son has committed a crime culturally. Today, it's like, well, we're just letting you guys know that we're pregnant. Woo! And then the boy's family would then have to go and speak to the girl's family and say, look, damages, how does it work? We'd maybe like to marry your daughter, whatever the case may be. And then after paying those damages, the family normally doesn't even slaughter the goat anymore or the chicken. They don't have a cleansing ceremony. They don't apologize to their ancestors. It's just vibes. They take that 5,000, 10,000. Dad goes and buys himself some drinks. Mama goes and gets herself a nice wig, goes to a day spa. It's good times. And then from there, the child is born. And then when the child is born, all of a sudden, for most black women, then this legal Western life kicks in. All of a sudden, fuck culture. Now it's, well, the birth certificate. This is not cultural. This is Western. This is colonial tools. Number two, the surname. I'm going to use my family surname. You didn't marry me, nigga. If you marry me, you can name the child. But since you didn't marry me, the child's going to take my... Which is not really her surname. It's her father's name, to be honest. So we're here now, and then there's a lot of fights and clashes. Then it becomes, but you must pay an additional lobola so that the child can take your surname, but the child still remains with mom and her family. It's a mess. It's a mess. So we're here now. And I'm saying to men and to women, but specifically to women, that child that you have, that surname that you say is yours, implies that your father impregnated you and that is his seed in the modern world. In the historical world, it would mean that this child is going to be raised on your father's land and maintained by your father. But this child that you've given your surname is your father's surname. It's your grandfather's surname. It's not yours. This child has a seed, and the seed is the biological father that you're saying, well, he didn't marry me, therefore, that's the seed. In the same way, you have your father's surname because you are your father's seed. That's how it works. Now, part of the controversies become this. Number one, your maternal father, the mother's father, is not maintaining the child. Why would you want to name the child after him? That child is not living in your father's home. Why would you want the child to be named out? Yes, it's your child, but that is not your father's seed. From the guy's perspective, now you have to ask, are you maintaining this child? If you're not maintaining the child and the mom is maintaining the child, why would you want the child to be labeled after you? Yes, it's wrong for the child to be labeled after the maternal grandfather, but you're not maintaining the child. You're not present in the child's life. So we need to almost find a solution to say, where dad is a deadbeat and is not providing, what surname should the child take? Because the woman will say, well, the child will take my surname. But your father's also a deadbeat in the sense that your father's not maintaining the child. Your father's not raising the child. If anything, there's a chance that your father was a deadbeat himself and it's your mom that's helping out. So why would you take that surname? If your father's family as a mom is fully raising this child, pumping in money, babysitting the child, spending holidays with the child, educating the child, there's a very valid claim historically, culturally, to say that child should have the surname from your paternal side as the mom, the maternal side of the mom, but your father's side. But if he's not, and it's just you, mom, it's just you. Now the child will take my surname. It's not yours. You're actually raising the name of your father. Because that's the thing, right, about the seed. There's the soil, very important. Is it fertile soil? Is it good soil, etc.? But there's the seed. This seed comes from the sperm. It comes from the semen. You provide the egg, very importantly. You provide the fertile earth. But the seed comes from the biological father. But as your child is being celebrated at school as an A student, as your child is being selected for top A teams, provincial teams, etc., as your child becomes something great, whose name are you celebrating? Whose name is being commemorated? Whose name is being championed out there? It's not yours, mom, because women don't get to have surnames. It's your father's, who maybe was a deadbeat. It's your grandfather's. Maybe your mom also didn't get married and also didn't give you your father's surname. Somewhere, somehow, you are celebrating some man's name somewhere and not the biological father, who in many respects is present, is providing for the child, is educating the child, is spending time with the child. The child visits his family on the paternal side. We need to have this conversation. It's controversial, it's upsetting, but I need you to understand the history of where we come from. Naming, clan names rather, how surnames came about, why children should take the mom's surname or the dad's surname. The impact of damages and inhlawulo, the impact of lobola ingane, the impact of introducing a child to ancestors, on which side, imbeleko, the importance of surnames. What do they mean? Why must the child take this surname or that surname? And as long as we don't have these conversations, these are actually going to be some of the things that lead to mom and dad fighting. These are going to be some of the things that lead to domestic violence. These are going to be some of the things that lead to the man walking away from his child. These are going to be some of the things that keep the mom from giving dad access to the child and cause so many issues that we have as a society. As a parting shot, I'll say this. I wish we didn't have to give children surnames. I wish mom could give the child her name or her names. I wish dad could give the child a name or whatever names he wants to give. And that's all that's on the birth certificate formally. And on the birth certificate, you've got mom's names and surname. You've got dad's names and surname. And then later on, the child can then choose which surname they want to take, and also give the child the option to say, I don't want to take mom's surname or dad's surname. I want to take my mom's name or my dad's name or my grandfather's name or my grandmother's name on either side, because these are the people that raised me. These are the people that made a significant impact in my life. These are the people that I want to be known as a child or as a grown person now with agency and the ability to do that. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this sort of controversial topic, but fundamentally important in the spirit of building family, building communities, and building society as a whole. Penny all the black pen.